Yeah, what's happening? What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. It is Saturday afternoon. It's a beautiful day. It's your main man, Coach Far.
Danny B, what's up, everybody? How you doing today, man? How you doing, Coach?
Man, I'm doing well. I'm missing my Knicks
Me
because
too.
it's been a hiatus. We play tomorrow, and it's kind of like a double-edged sword. Yeah, I miss them. Yeah, it's been kind of hard not having a Knick game the last couple of games, but they've had rest, something
Yup.
they haven't had like consistently all season. So I'm glad they got rest, especially going into this West Coast trip.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what's funny? I was just saying on Twitter to Triple M, shout out to him, that it's needed, man. You know, like we haven't had just rest in so long, like you just said. I think we had 2 days off last week, and now we got
Mm-hmm.
these 3 days, which is nice. But it's been every other day for the whole season, pretty much, because it's such a truncated season. So we got kind of used to it a little bit. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's became a little bit of a habit to see it every day. So I was saying next season, if it goes back to the way it was, it's going to be a lot more of these 3 day hiatuses,
Latest,
and
right.
I'm enjoying it, man. Every other day, you know what I mean? It's giving me something to do. We had that long stretch during the pandemic where there was nothing, so
Right.
it's been awesome to have Knicks every other day. So, but like you said, definitely well needed. You know, the last 9 games of the season coming up, so take as much rest as we need, and let's give it our all these last 9 games. You know.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, I was feeling pretty good about things yesterday evening, and then I looked again and saw yesterday night. And I'm referring to the Hawks getting eviscerated, and it seemed like the Celtics were getting equally as done in. It seemed that way until the 60-point performance, and they end up winning by 3
In overtime.
in overtime. Like, come on, Spurs, yo, just do a job, man.
Man,
Finish some
yeah.
folks off.
It looked good for a while. It definitely did, you know. But yeah, Tatum pulling it out. I think in that first quarter, right, they got outscored. I think they had 16 points, the Celtics, and
Yeah,
Tatum had freaking 14 of the 16 points.
yeah,
So he was on a mission. But that's what I'm saying. Like we were talking about matchups on Twitter yesterday, and me and you were
right.
talking about it last week also. And I really keep going back to wanting the Hawks out of all the possibilities that we could have. The
Okay,
Celtics, I just feel like are dangerous at times. They could turn it on, you know what I mean, and have multiple
right.
weapons. Obviously, Kemba, Tatum, Brown. They got a couple other pieces that could fit in and plug in. So they're just tough, you know what I mean. And so 7 games against that, I don't know. I just feel most comfortable against the Hawks in a 7 game series in the first round. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And see where the chips fall everywhere else. We only because I like how we played that last game against the Hawks. Although there was times where Capella was getting it going, Young was getting it going, but I feel like we're really good at adjusting and seeing
Mm-hmm.
what we got. And in 7 games in a series, you know this,
Right,
it's so much more about matchups and
right.
studying the gameplay, coaching 10 times more important. So I just think that we have a lot more of those tools needed. So I think the matchup there is easier for us, you know. I'd rather save Philly, save Nets, whoever else for down the stretch, Miami,
Right.
you know. So I don't know. I just think the first series, the Hawks would be a great first step, especially for our
Agree.
team, you know. Let's
Agree.
get the experience.
The only issue with that is they are now tied.
Yes.
So now that loss from the Hawks didn't necessarily bode well in us getting that matchup, because now them and the Celtics are tied. If as the season continues, we have to kind of keep watching both of those teams to see, who ends up with the better record, because
Oh
nine
yeah.
times out of 10, that's who we're going to play. Because I'm here to say it right now. I don't think we'll drop in out of 4th place.
I don't think so either. I think we're gonna have a good stretch these last 9.
Mm-hmm.
We've already proven that we have what it takes to dig deep and pull them
Right.
out. So I think we've overcame that hurdle that you saw, a little while back, where there was the stretch where we just couldn't close them out. We were losing a
Right.
lot of those close games. I feel like we've taken that next step, and we've kind of put that past us. We've learned, and we know, like I said, how to dig deep and pull it out. So I'm looking forward to it, man. I am right there with you. I think we have a great last 9, and we go into the playoffs with some steam.
Yep, I think we go 6-3. At worst 5-4. To be honest, I still think we come out of that with a winning record.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, we still have like 2 or 3 games at home. We had the last 3 games at home after the road trip.
Yep. So the first 6 of these 9 are on the road.
Mm-hmm.
We got the Rockets, Grizzlies,
win,
Nuggets,
loss.
Yeah, I think that's going to be tough. The Suns, I think it's a winnable game, but going to be tough.
Winnable, but that one gives me pause.
Me too. I definitely am, iffy about that. The Clippers after that, and the Lakers.
We're going to win one of those 2 games between either the Clippers or the Lakers, but one of those 2 games we take.
Definitely. And so the Rockets and the Grizzlies, the first 2 are back to back, and then it's every other day until the Lakers.
Now the Grizzlies do give me pause. Let's keep that real. They do, especially with Jaren Jackson back. They do give me pause.
I agree, but again, I think it's a winnable game. I think that in terms of tiers of the league itself, I feel like obviously we're not top tier, but I think we're middle. The next tier down, we're right in the middle of the pack there. So I feel like we definitely, if we play our game, we stick to our guns, we could beat the Grizzlies. Obviously, we did it.
But the Grizzlies are that same middle pack for their conference.
Definitely agree.
It's going to be a good matchup, and I hope we could just like lambast the daggone Rockets and like have Randall and them resting in the 4th quarter type thing.
Yep.
And that would ease my comfort a bit more about us taking that W because it's a back-to-back.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's going to be tough. It definitely is going to be tough. Even the last 3, when we go back home, we got the Spurs, the Hornets, and the Celtics. Yeah. And again, not too much rest. We have 2 days between the Lakers, the end of the road trip, and coming back home. And then it's Spurs on the 13th, Hornets on the 15th, and the next day Celtics to finish the season. So it's going to be a grueling next 9 games. That's for sure, man.
Agreed. Definitely agreed. And it's going to test our moxie.
Oh, yeah.
But like you talked about a few minutes ago about the that losing streak where we couldn't close out games, I feel like we needed that to learn how to close out games, how to trust each other in those moments. And that's why when we saw those later on, we were able to do it because, again, what did Tim say? If we're not winning, we're learning.
100%. And I'm glad that you touched on that because so many people were up in arms when we were losing those games, and they're like, oh, we should be. And listen, it's the whole season is a process for everybody, not just the players on the team, but Tibbs as well. The whole front office, for the fans experiencing it. You have to take it in stride, take it for what it's worth. We've taken steps throughout the entire season, and you've heard me talking about this many times. And that was the next step. So it is a learning process. You need to go through the process itself to understand what it takes to come out on the other side where you want to be. And we did that. And kudos to the team and the coach and everything for being able to use that as a learning process and improve. And I would never be saying this if we didn't have those same situations slowly after it and start turning the tables and pulling them out and getting the victories. So that it's a learning process. We need to slow our roll a little bit. And, we're not the number 1 team yet. You know what I mean? We're not the Lakers. We're not that automatic, contender. We're not. So we're building towards it. We got to have patience. We're getting there. These are all great steps that the team is taking. So just to be watching it, RJ in his 2nd season, Mitch, IQ in his 1st season. It's just for these guys to be around this and the aura, the environment, the positivity, the winning culture that because Tibbs's win first mentality, we now have a winning culture. So although people get on Tibbs for his decision making, you still got to give him the credit. We're here, we're getting the wins, and the culture is changing. And that's a big hand in it. I get killed all the time for this, but I still, like,
pause when people are questioning Tim's decision making. Like, really? Have you not seen the last few jokers we had up in here making decisions? And you
Yep.
questioning him and you see the results of his decisions? Really?
Yep.
Really? Like, and they just, oh, see, I don't blindly trust. Dude, stop. You know?
And I get it, man. I get it. Everybody's got preferences. That's what I love about this Knicks fan base. And you
Yes.
see so much of it on Twitter.
Yes.
Everybody has an opinion. And that's totally cool. Like, I'm
Yeah.
all about everybody having an opinion. I'll like a comment just because they're expressing their opinion, not because I
Right.
agree with what they're saying all the time. You know what I
Right.
mean? But I'm all about putting it out there. Now, what we have to do as a collective fan base is understand that everybody's allowed to have that same opinion. So if you don't agree with it, you don't have to call the guy a stupid, go this whole
Right.
route.
Just
It is what
don't
it
agree
is.
with it. You know,
Exactly,
you
man.
know,
Exactly.
I disagree with that. I hear what you're saying, but
Yep.
there's ways in which to engage with people and not turn it into oh, you're an ass, no, you're an ass, and
Yeah.
now there's no conversation and it
We're all
just
Knicks
breaks
fans at the
down.
end of the day. We all
Right.
want the same goal. It's just that everybody has a different feeling about how to go about it. So listen, there's two sides to the coin. There's the coin side that you want and you think that you see, and then there's the other side that's actually going to happen and play out. So you could ride the coattails of reality and what you feel the team is going to be doing based on what they've done, but still also have an opinion at what you'd like to see without going crazy. You know what I mean?
And
So
trust I do.
it's interesting, that's for sure. But shout out to everybody that at my Knicks corner, my timeline's always healthy, man. You know what I mean? Everybody stays
Yes.
positive. So shout out to all y'all.
Big shouts to Nick Twitter. Yo,
With that, I kind of want to transition to maybe a couple questions that we didn't get to from last week. But before I do, I see that you definitely got something on your mind. So what
I
are you thinking?
actually just wanted to quickly go to commercial because J Mac is in the building as well.
Nice, very
So
cool.
I want him in on those questions and maybe we can get his perspective. So let's go to a quick Nick commercial break because you know how we do it. And we'll be right back with Danny B in the building, Coach Fa, and everybody's main man, Jonathan Macri.
Let's do it.
Spring, summer 2021, y'all. You gotta get to the barbershop and get those Julius Randle's hairstyle trends for men. We talking about the triple threat, the Spree 99, the 3 in a rows. Yo, you know that All-Star is what's popping this summer. Knowing me, I'm probably gonna get that baseline fade. But right now, I'm most definitely rocking the blowout loss. Go to your barbershops, get your hairstyle trends for men, baby. Corn roll it up, Julius.
Dude, that's great, man. But I got those Gibson vibes, you know what I mean? So
Yo, you gotta have it, man. You gotta have it.
Listen, if I had some hair, you know what I mean, I would definitely try to look to pull some Randall vibes.
Baseline fade, nice and good.
Classic, dude. Baseline fade is classic. You can't go wrong.
Yo, and without further ado, let's bring in our brother and yours, J Mac. What's happening, my brother?
What's going on, guys? I'm sorry I'm late. My locker room ran long because they were having some technical issues, but I'm here now.
Listen to it.
Welcome.
Yeah,
absolutely, man. Dude, and great locker room chats. You know, I know you see me. I'm in there as much as I can every Saturday.
I did see you.
11 o'clock Saturdays. Everybody that's listening, you got the locker room app. If not, definitely download it. It's a great listen, great conversation.
And please follow my man because
cool. It's a new way of interacting. So.
That's
it definitely is.
So, how you guys doing?
I'm thrilled.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Absolutely, we're good.
Cool, good stuff. All right, awesome.
Yeah, we were just going back and forth. little Knicks talk. I think the connection is a little iffy because I feel like we keep cutting each other off a little bit. But John, please take the floor, man.
Well, I'm shutting my laptop down because hopefully that'll lessen the Wi-Fi usage in my house. You're good now?
We're hearing you and we're watching you walk through the cribble. Nice house.
All right, good stuff. So hi, it's good to be here.
It's good to have you.
Having me on, and yeah, just I don't know. Trying to think what's on my mind at the moment. It's been a nice 3 weeks. I'll say that.
Yes,
it's been
it
a nice
has.
3 weeks, and I'm looking forward to, I would like them to get a top 6 seed. I think that's probably where my mind is at right now. I know there's a lot of other conversation about a lot of other things, but I think the most important thing right now is that they just focus on getting one of these surefire playoff spots, and then whatever happens after that, I'm cool with it. I don't really care if it's 4, 5, 6. But I think they've come so far, and there's only 9 games left, so might as well bring it home now.
So
absolutely.
You know what? I know Danny had some questions that we didn't get to last week from Nick's Twitter, so hit it up, my brother.
Definitely, but before I do, I just wanted to say I feel like that all that Dame talk from the locker room definitely got you a little dizzy.
Yeah, I mean the Dame stuff is interesting. The Dame stuff is interesting because it's like, I don't know. We've been through this before. I think everybody who saw that news and like is frustrated by it, I get it because like I said on locker room, like I've been there. Because you want to focus on the here and now, especially when the here and now is good. But it's always going to be there, especially, and it's like the notion that it's going to go away because they're good now is crazy. If anything, it's going to start more with, and it's not just it'll be there with I think any big name player who's not on like a contending team, because the Knicks are good and the Knicks have cap space and the Knicks have assets, and it's always going to be there. So, but yeah, man, it's definitely has me tripping a little bit.
I like how it kind of came up because I first heard it with you on a pod, just talking, and I feel like what really sprouted it was the thought that what star is out there right now that's just having a bad stretch. You know what I mean? And it kind of naturally came about. Obviously, Dame, the last few games, just not having that same fire that he's had earlier in the season. So I like how you kind of noticed it and threw it out there. And what's funny to me is I feel like a lot of times it just in news, the way that the news works is you get conversations like this, then Nick's Twitter starts talking about it. Certain accounts see the chatter. Media personalities see the chatter from there and then create articles. And so that's how it kind of, at least I see it ballooning to a degree.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a little more to ballooning than just speculation because, well, I'll just say there's a little bit more to it than just speculation. But I do think the way that the news cycle works now, it can get out of control. So I definitely agree with that. And it's like anytime there's a really good player on a team that isn't performing up to expectations, you're going to have this. So that's why it's like in the next 6 months, I'm sure we're going to continue to hear about Karl Anthony Towns. I'm sure we're going to, continue to hear about, I mean, even like bad situations. Like, would it shock me? And again, I'm not, this is not anything I've heard, but like, would it shock me if at some point we heard, I don't know, Colin Sexton's name? Like, hey, the Cavs are bad. This was his 3rd season. Like, he's going to be up for a new contract soon. They're still years away from contention. Like, nothing would shock me.
Yep.
Nothing in terms of name players on bad teams. I think the only caveat there, and somebody brought it up at the end of the locker room that I just did, is guys who are under contract or under team control for a long time. I think it's actually different because if a guy signs an extension, I think, like, for instance, like De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox's extension hasn't even kicked in yet. It starts next season.
Right.
Like, we haven't seen anybody, push their way out of a situation with so many years left. I do think it's, again, this is not to get into the Zion stuff, but like, I think at some point before long, we're going to see a guy in a rookie contract try to push his way out. I don't really count the Porzingis thing because that was like just weird.
Yeah, it was,
but
definitely.
I think it'll happen. And so, yeah, I mean, it's going to just be, it's the NBA, man. It's like, it's just, you're always going to have the same stuff. Rumors
Right.
on top of rumors.
Mm-hmm.
And the Knicks are just always one of those target locations that,
Yes.
because of everything that's been going on, that it's just easy to talk about and throw the name out there,
Yeah, 100%.
And as you're bringing names up, another name that I saw come across on Twitter this week was Andrew Wiggins. So it's just funny how you're, like you said, you're gonna hear it. I know, Coach is laughing. It's just it's the way it goes. We're gonna hear it, like you said, for the next 6 months. Until we kind of settle upon a new roster for next season. Everything's gonna be up and out there. So
I'll just say, in terms of Wiggins, like anybody else who's not a star player that makes a lot of money, like before this season, you could have told me almost literally anyone, and I would have said, all right, I could see them maybe kicking the tires on that player. I think now, after this season has happened, and obviously it's not over yet, but like they've established themselves as a competent organization, a competent team. I would be very surprised if they took on any big long-term money for anyone that wasn't like an all-star caliber player.
Right.
So like I didn't notice that on Twitter this week, but I would be very surprised if we heard anything real in terms of Wiggins, in terms of like, someone brought up like Kenneth to me last week. Like, just no, they're not. That's not a real thing. Like it has to. And I know Kevin Love used to be an all-star player. He's not an all-star player anymore.
Nope.
He's not even a player anymore.
But
those clips lately are just.
I mean,
brutal.
I think he's probably a guy. I mean, I don't think he took a shot. I think he played 22 minutes last night. I don't think he took a shot. That's
no,
but they're
no
zeros across the board.
He's probably best as a first off the bench at this point on a good team. But just like I would be really surprised. Like even like someone like and I think this goes for free agency too. Like at one point, I would have thought that they might be in on Kelly Oubre Jr. this summer. Intriguing young player, has always flashed some potential, this and that. Like, I don't know anymore. I think the way the season has gone, I think it's I can't believe I'm going to make this comparison. It's like when you date someone who's like the best looking person you've ever dated, and like suddenly your standards go way up. It's like, I think that's the Knicks this year. I think their standards have gone like way up. And not to say that their standards were ever low, but like last season or last offseason, we heard, a lot of like they were in on giving Marcus Morris a big contract, and they were giving obviously in on Gordon Hayward, or rumored in terms of guys like Thibodeau.
Right.
I'm sure they maybe kicked the tires on it. Like Beasley, like these are interesting players, but like I don't know. I see them having their sights set a little bit higher now.
Right.
This offseason.
And if you don't mind, I think chemistry is a much more important thing for them now. I mean, I even going back to that Woj pod with Julius, he dropped a lot of little nuggets in that little 40 minutes of not only, I mean, and he talked a lot about how the team is thinking. If you really paid attention, it told you how those moves are going to be made, what the criteria is to be a Knick now. That culture is setting in, and I'm loving it.
And there is a real criteria to be a Knick now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. And Coach, you said it. I think when we were talking last week, one of the times we were talking, that you related it to the Knicks, just like John just said just now. Last season, we would have been happy with anybody that's going to help improve and upgrade this team. Now we're in a position where we're not desperate. We're not thirsty for anybody. Exactly. And that was the key word that you said, was thirsty.
We're not as thirsty. Yeah.
No, we're really not. So it's more about the fit and the chemistry, which goes a long way. And of course, when I say fit, I don't mean just how they fit with the team physically on the court, but also, cost effectively as well. Obviously, we're not going to look to overpay anything. I think that the organization has shown us that. So I think that as long as they do fit the chemistry all around and we can get it at a good deal, I think that we'll make the move. But we're definitely a lot more reserved now, a lot more conservative. So I like that.
I like it.
Well, I think they're conservative when it comes to certain players and certain moves, but I definitely, if the right move came up, I definitely think they would be very aggressive.
Definitely.
So, but yeah.
I think overall conservative, absolutely. But if there's somebody out there, and they've been pretty good at feeling the landscape, I just feel like they'll, like you said, if they have the upper hand, I think that they will go a little bit over to do it. And I said this also a couple weeks back too. There's so much more money in the NBA now than there was even 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So when you're looking at certain numbers and offering somebody a contract where a couple years ago you're like, wow, that's a lot of money. Now in today's NBA and the worth of certain contracts, we kind of have to account for the inflation of the dollar a little bit. And so where I'm just going to throw this out as an example, people talk about Lonzo Ball and getting him, throwing, say, 18 mil out and kind of holding at 18 or whatever it is. I wouldn't mind overpaying a couple of bucks,
for
a couple
Lonzo?
$1 million. So for somebody that's going to really move the needle and upgrade the team, and also have that chemistry fit. I just think if it's a perfect scenario, they definitely will overpay, like you said, a little bit more, be a little bit more aggressive.
I think it's hold on one second. I'm just gonna pick up my daughter here. My wife, of course, leaves me home with 2 kids today to go dress shopping with her friend who's getting married. Congratulations!
Hey, congrats.
But anyway, I think and the thing I'm repeating myself for stuff I've said on my podcast, stuff I think I've written in the newsletter. I just think for them it's about don't sign any. If a guy you're signing you think is going to be a final piece of the puzzle, like in terms of in the next few years, like being one of the top 4 guys or so, I don't think you have to worry as much about like, is this a contract we could trade? So for instance, like again, is he gonna want to leave? Is he gonna opt out of his contract? But like Chris Paul, if they had to overpay Chris Paul to come on a contract that wouldn't be like not be desirable around the league, I don't think that that's as big of a deal, because I think they would view Chris Paul as like, okay, Chris Paul is going to be on the floor for us hopefully when we're competing in like the NBA Finals in the next 2 years. So I'm just throwing that out there. Something like
absolutely.
Kyle Lowry too. I think for
Kyle Lowry
Lonzo,
too.
For someone like Lonzo, like I look at Lonzo more as he's a nice piece. I don't think he moves the needle personally, in terms of getting them from where they are at now into like the conversation with Brooklyn or Philly. So to me,
I agree with you.
If he's not that player, and again, maybe he is, and I'm just wrong, but I think it's important that they would sign him to a contract that they could then flip. So like I've seen people write that like about the notion of them like maxing Lonzo.
No.
Or a contract that like starts over $25 million. To me, that's insane.
No, absolutely. I just meant more of in the way of including inflation in types of offers, and I just threw Lonzo out as an example because personally, I'm on board with staying away. I mean, I understand how people want them, but go ahead.
It's okay to overpay a little bit for a talented guy. Because even on a slight overpay, if a player has checked certain boxes, right? If they can shoot, if they can handle the ball, if they could, if they're not like a liability on defense, like there's always going to be a market for those players, even if they make like a little bit more than their, quote unquote market value is. Although I guess that's wrong because their market value is what they could get paid. Then like what you would ideally like to be paying them. Let's say that, if there is such a thing. But I think that's different than paying a guy so much that the contract becomes an albatross.
Right.
And I think there's a fine line. I think,
There is.
not to bring up old stuff, but like when they signed Tim Hardaway Jr., I'm sure Steve Mills thought that if they needed to flip that contract, they'd be able to flip it and it wouldn't be a big deal. It turned out that it was not. That was not the case.
Right.
Yeah. So, but again, like, that gets into your player evaluation. Like, you look at like Lonzo now. Is he a better prospect than Tim Hardaway Jr. was 4 years ago? Yeah, he is for sure. Is he? And again, we're just using Lonzo as an example. Is he so appreciably better that like you could sign him to any contract and be like, oh, it's going to be fun. We'll be able to flip him if we need to flip him. No, I don't see him as that sort of player. And I think you have to be really careful because there's a lot of names out there this summer, like Gary Trent Jr., Norm Powell. Like these are nice players. They're probably like a fifth guy on a really good team, but I don't know that I want to be in the market for those guys given what they're probably gonna cost. That would be my 2 cents.
Fair.
I think we have to be very picky, this off season and really make the right moves. And listen, Nick's Twitter as well as anybody. It's definitely going to create waves, no matter which way they go. You know what I mean?
Whatever they do, it's gonna create waves.
Yep. Yeah, because we were just saying right before you hopped on, everybody has an opinion on the Knicks. You know what I mean? And it's crazy how people get on each other about it, but it's like we all have the same end goal. You know what I mean? Some people just have different preferences. That's all it is, So
I think the one thing that like everybody's pretty united on at this point. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's some corners of Twitter that I'm not noticing, but it seems like at this point everybody's kind of happy with the fact that the team is winning. And the conversation about like the wisdom of winning X amount of games this season versus tanking, I think that conversation has kind of gone away, which is good because I hate that conversation. Even like regardless of what you think, that's not a conversation that I enjoy having. So then it's just about like, what do you do? And that's where I think there's room for reasonable disagreement because, I think there is something to the notion of like, you got to take a step up. You can't just run it back. Because, but at the same time, does it have to be a certain step up? Like, does adding a 35-year-old Kyle Lowry make sense when your best players on the team are 26, 21, and I personally think Emmanuel Quickly will be like their third best player on the roster as it stands next year, like 20 years, he's 21. RJ Barrett's 20.
Right.
You get it.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So,
definitely.
In closing, because we got to wrap up, we're actually even past the 12:30 marker.
That's all right. I mean, I'm down to go over any day, especially when we have John Macri on our stage. So.
I can give you a couple more minutes. My daughter's being good at the moment.
Cool. Listen, before you go, I definitely wanted to shout out the Knicks Film School merch.
Check them out.
I got the shirt on right now.
Thank you, man.
So shouts to Macri on that. Absolutely, of course, man. If you guys don't have any Knicks Film School merch, definitely go hit up Macri's. I know he's got it pinned right there with all the links.
I got in the Knicks Film School Twitter handle. I think the pinned tweet has a link to it, and then if you go to my Twitter and JC Macri NBA, I think there's a link in my Twitter bio as well.
Yeah. Definitely. So definitely go check that out. Anything that you want to plug at all, John?
Just, everybody who's watching, check out our stuff. If you haven't, it's, what do we have? We have a YouTube channel, podcast.
And pay for the daggone subscription. Stop being cheap. It's great information. Put your little monies up and get it.
Great subscription. I've been paying attention to that for a while.
I'll say this. I spend more time on that newsletter than I care to admit. Hey,
but it's great work, bro. So
it is.
Listen.
Thank you. Thank you. It
Yes,
means a lot to
indeed.
me. I pour everything I have into that 5 days a week.
Yeah.
So the fact that anybody actually reads it is nice to know.
Listen, this guy has been a friend to the show and a friend of mine online and everything. And it's almost time to have that beverage, my brother.
Man, like I said, I'm home with the two girls right here. One is in the process of smothering the other in front of my face. You probably can't see. Yeah, my wife will be back in probably about an hour and a half, and maybe when she gets home, I'll crack open a beverage. We'll see.
There you
Well,
go.
I will toast one up in a couple of hours because I'm actually going to a dinner party with my older sister later on.
Oh, very nice.
So, yeah, so I'll toast one in remembrance of you both.
Where are you?
Nice.
Where are you going? Any place good?
Oh, her house. She's doing this
Oh, okay.
whole soul food thing, and my sister, she can throw down. So,
Man.
yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
I tell you what, there's not a lot of on Long Island, at least that I know of. There's not a lot of soul food on Long Island, and I miss.
No, there's not.
My daughter's making little noises here. I love soul food, man. Enjoy. I'm jealous.
Nice. I just got to throw out there. I'm going out to this Italian place called Patricia's.
Okay.
I'm going out 6 for my wife's birthday. So
Happy
Birthday
birthday!
to your wife.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to the wife. But yeah, if you haven't heard of Patricia's, it's an amazing restaurant. They got places all around Long Island. I think there's one in Hicksville. Obviously, the big one is out in, I want to say Manhattan or Brooklyn. I can't remember which. I think they might be even both. But it's a family-style Italian restaurant.
Nice.
Have you heard of it, John?
I've heard of it. I have not been there. When we need Italian, we usually see there's an Umberto's right in our town here that we usually get. Oh man,
I saw Andrew Claudio talking about Umberto's on Twitter a couple of days ago. I think that's one of you guys' staples.
Solid, man. They do a nice vodka pie. They do they're obviously they're famous for their grandma slices. It's like, again, I grew up in Staten Island. I lived in Brooklyn and Manhattan for most of my adult life, so it's like I'm a bit of a pizza snob. It's good pizza, solid. But I don't know. I don't know what we started. I think we're gonna get something out today. I'm not sure what. We'll have to play it by ear.
Nice,
right.
Very cool. Well, whatever you do, enjoy it, Coach. Definitely enjoy your soul food, man. I'm a little jealous.
Well, enjoy the birthday.
Oh, absolutely, man. Yes. I always try to go above and beyond for the wife. So
of course,
it'll definitely be fun.
We got good people in the building. Ladies and gentlemen, thank y'all for hanging out with the family for Knickerbocker Avenue this week. And we got a great game tomorrow. Let's just stomp them out nice and good, beat up on the Houston Rockets, and get ready for the Grizzlies.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Adios, everybody.
Enjoy the rest of your day, the weekend, and we'll definitely talk to everybody soon.
We'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Yup.